Here's an example of creating written text in After Effects. So I'll go ahead and play the preloaded one. So you can see that there are a little bit of inconsistencies in there, and I'll show you how to deal with those. But this is generally what it looks like, and if it's going at a faster speed, especially if you're trying to fit everything in 30 seconds, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. But let's get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new composition by going to Composition, a new composition. I'll just do Text Test, and I'll go ahead and do the HD TV 1080 and at 24 frames per second. The start of the time code, so if you don't understand this, it goes hours, minutes, seconds, and then frames. So we want it to start at 0, and then we want the whole thing to be at 30 seconds, so this is correct. Okay, so first off, let's use the text tool and just create the, and then I'll click off of it and I'll do the same thing. You can either just click and it'll create an expansive box for however long you're going to type, or you can actually create a box, just like Illustrator and I think Photoshop. Okay, and I'll click off. And the first one I want to deal with is the, so I'm going to again use Command plus to get in there. I'm going to use the space bar and the mouse to sort of pan around. I'm going to use, I think what is, yeah, V, same as in Photoshop, to take it and drag it down a little bit. And then I want to put a pen tool on top of it. So I actually want to make sure I'm clicking the layer and then going to the pen tool. We want to make sure that the pen tool is on that layer and not creating a whole new layer. So once I'm in here, then I can start it just like that. And I'm going to wrap it around. There's some problems with creating multiple pen paths on the same text, so it's better to just, so normally I would just end it here and then try to start a new path, but because of the problem, I'm just going to continue it. And then normally I would go around this curve, but just because of the way it looks when I actually do it the way I normally would, it looks a little weird that way, so I'm just going to do that instead as a workaround. Okay, so now we have our pen path, and we want to go to Effect, and then go to Generate, and then down to Stroke. That's going to bring up the stroke effect in the effect controls, and that's on the layer. If I were to go to the Sisterhood layer, you would see no effects there. So let's go back to the layer, and we can see a little bit of the path coming through. I'm going to go ahead and change the color to this red so we see what's going on. And essentially what we want to have is the path to cover up the entire white stroke of the. So go ahead and go to the brush size and increase the brush size until it's just covering up everything. And that's pretty good. I'll actually go ahead and make it a little bit smaller and show you a neat little workaround so that you can get a little bit more detailed. Okay, so now we have it covering up, and now we actually, but I mean this doesn't look like it just looks like a big red blur. So let's go to the paint style and change it to Reveal Original Image. And so now we actually see the, and next we want to go to the end part of the effect. And if you want to access that in the layer panel, we open up this little triangle, and then we go to the Effects panel and open that up, and we can see the same stuff that here as we see up here. And at the start, we're only going to be using the end, so at the beginning we don't want to see any of it. And if you'll see, as you scroll this back to 0, it's getting rid of everything. So we're going to go ahead and mark that, make that key, and you can see down here that little diamond was made. And then we'll scroll, I don't know, maybe like 2.5 seconds. Two and a half. That's good enough. And we'll make another key. It'll automatically make a key the moment I make an adjustment. If you mess up, you can always highlight it and delete it. You can also take it and actually drag it. If you want to skip to a previous key, oh no, is it? Okay. If you want to skip to a previous key, you can use the J key and then the K key to move forward a keyframe. Okay, so now we have it and it's going through. Let's see how well it plays. Pretty poorly. Okay, so we also want to do a PRAM. So there's a difference between the play button and then the PRAM button. PRAM actually loads everything, and you'll see down here that there's a little green bar, and that shows you what is actually loaded and what's ready to play. If you were to normally just hit the play button, it would play a lot slower than it would in the export. So let's go to PRAM, let's load it up, and you'll see it'll kind of run through, it'll make this all green. Okay, cool. And so this is the speed that it'll actually play at. Okay. So we see a little bit of inconsistencies. Here we see this like little jagged line, and we see that the T isn't fully covered. We also see a little bit of the H up here. So what we can do is we can go back to the paint style and we can change it to original image, and as we paint through, we can see where it's actually starting to reveal that stuff. So just like in the normal pen tool, we want to go back into the pen tool and just grab an anchor and just drag it up a little bit until it's no longer showing that. We can grab this one and do the same thing. Over here, when it wasn't covering up the whole thing, a nice little workaround to make it seem like it's fatter is just by adding a path, and then just kind of I'm clicking and holding and then dragging to the side. And as we continue through, we can see where it's grabbing it, so I'm just clicking and dragging on the anchor. I'm going to use the command and click to get rid of one. I'm going to use a click and drag to make one fat. Do the same thing here. I'll go ahead and get rid of this one. Add a new one, drag that over here. And that's just an easy way, because later down the line you may want to have a little bit thinner lines, and so this is an easy way of making like a fat line. So let's keep on going through. So let's make it so that this kind of comes in there, and we want to cover up all the way like that. And then the H, so that's, and then if we want to kind of see, go to the reveal image, and you can see some more problem areas. So right there, you can see that little jagged part, so go ahead and just drag it, and you can just kind of eyeball it. Right there, it's a little bit too much over. Same thing. Same thing over here, we can just drag it up. Just make it look a little bit more like a consistent line. Cool. And now when we actually go back, we can click off of it, and we'll get rid of the path. And let's do a quick PRAM load up until all of this is green. And then we should see a playback at real time. Looks much nicer. Cool. And then when you're done with that, then you can move on to the Sisterhood one and just do the exact same thing. You create a pen path over it, and you go to the effect, you go to generate stroke, and the same exact thing. So hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in class.